The dazzling smile, radiant, warm, disarming. But wait, what if that smile is nothing more than a facade? What if, behind the perfect curve of their lips, lies a storm of deceit? Have you ever sat across from someone, felt the sugar in their words, and wondered, is this sweetness real, or am I being played? And here's the real kicker, fake people don't come with warning labels. There's no neon sign flashing manipulator on their foreheads. Instead, they masterfully craft their personas, slipping into your life under the guise of friendship, loyalty, or love, only to leave you questioning your worth when their masks slip. So, how do you protect yourself? How do you pierce through their illusions before they erode your trust or, worse, your peace of mind? Today, we're diving into the art and psychology of unmasking these pretenders. 10 signs people are completely fake with you. This isn't just about spotting red flags, it's about reclaiming your power, sharpening your intuition, and understanding the tools that Stoicism and behavioral psychology give us to navigate the murky waters of human relationships. Fake people are everywhere, at work, in your social circle, even in your own family. But here's the good news, with awareness and discernment, you can recognize them for what they are and protect your peace. Now, here's your mission, hit that like button for this video. Why? Because when you take action, YouTube sees this content as valuable and spreads it to more people, people who, like you, are searching for clarity in their relationships. And let's be honest, if you can't take one small step to support this content, are you ready to face fake people in your life? Without action, there's no transformation. So, hit like, subscribe, and let's start building a stronger, more discerning Victory Stoic community. Because today, we're not just exposing deceit. We're reclaiming authenticity, yours, mine, and the relationships that truly matter. Let's dive in. Number 1, when words and actions don't align. Let's start with a classic, the person who talks a big game but delivers absolutely nothing. They promise loyalty, commitment, or support, but when the moment of truth arrives, crickets. Stoicism reminds us of a simple truth: what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Actions always outweigh words. Imagine this, you're working on a group project at your job. There's always that one coworker, let's call him Kevin, who enthusiastically volunteers for every task. Don't worry, I've got it covered, he says with a grin that could light up the room. But when the deadline looms closer, Kevin's inbox is suddenly quieter than a library at midnight. And the tasks he was so eager to complete? Well, they've somehow landed back in your lap. Or think about your personal life. Maybe you've got a friend who constantly says, "We should hang out more. I miss you so much." But every time you propose plans, they ghost you like a magician's disappearing act. Their words create a false sense of connection, but their actions tell the real story, they're just not that invested. Why does this happen? Behavioral psychology suggests that some people overpromise to gain immediate approval or avoid confrontation. It's easier to say yes than to admit they don't care enough to follow through. But the result? They leave you holding the bag, doubting their sincerity, and sometimes even questioning your judgment. How do you deal with this? Simple, trust patterns, not promises. If someone consistently fails to back up their words with actions, take note. Observe their behavior over time, and let that guide your decisions about how much trust, time, or energy you invest in them. You can even call them out, politely but firmly. For example, I noticed you said you'd handle this task, but it didn't get done. Can we discuss how to avoid this next time? Their reaction will reveal a lot. A genuine person will own up to their mistake, a fake one will deflect, make excuses, or get defensive. The key here is not to let their empty promises erode your peace. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. You can't force someone to be reliable, but you can control how you respond. Align yourself with people whose actions reflect their words, and leave the empty talkers to their own devices. Because at the end of the day, authenticity isn't about saying the right thing, it's about living it. Number 2, over-the-top compliments with no substance. Compliments are great when they're genuine. But when someone lays it on too thick, it's often a red flag. Stoicism reminds us to value truth over flattery. Flattery, after all, is often a tool for manipulation, not a reflection of genuine admiration. Behavioral psychology agrees that over-the-top compliments can be a mask for jealousy, hidden motives, or even passive-aggressive intentions. Imagine this scenario: you've just given a stellar presentation at work. As you wrap up, a colleague, let's call her Karen, races over. "Wow, that was amazing. You're so talented. Honestly, I don't know how you do it. It feels good, right?" But then, the cracks start to show. Karen whispers to another coworker, "Don't you think they're trying a little too hard? It's like they're showing off." This type of behavior isn't uncommon. Flattery disarms you, making you feel valued and appreciated. But when it's paired with backhanded comments or subtle sabotage, it's clear that the praise was never genuine. Historical example: Napoleon Bonaparte and his court. Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's most cunning leaders, often surrounded himself with individuals who lavished him with endless praise. "You are the sun of Europe," one courtier famously declared. Yet behind closed doors, some of these same admirers plotted against him, undermining his authority and feeding false intelligence to serve their agendas. Napoleon, while brilliant on the battlefield, often fell victim to the very flattery that fueled his ego. His inability to discern genuine loyalty from opportunistic praise contributed to his eventual downfall. Why do people use flattery? According to psychology, excessive flattery can serve multiple purposes. To gain favor, they want something from you, be it influence, resources, or status. To disarm you, by inflating your ego, they lower your defenses, making you more susceptible to their ulterior motives. To mask envy, when they can't match your success, flattery becomes a smokescreen for their insecurities. So, how do you handle this? Stoicism teaches us to accept praise graciously but without attachment. Seneca once said, "A wise man is neither elated by applause nor cast down by censure." In other words, don't let compliments cloud your judgment or inflate your sense of self-worth. Here's a practical approach. Acknowledge the compliment politely. "Thank you, that means a lot." Observe their behavior over time. Does their praise align with their actions? Are they consistent, or do they exhibit jealousy or manipulation later? Set boundaries. If someone's flattery feels excessive or uncomfortable, it's okay to steer the conversation towards something neutral or objective. Remember, true admiration doesn't need a spotlight. It's quiet, supportive, and genuine. Like a Stoic, stay grounded and let your actions speak louder than the opinions of others, good or bad. In a world full of Karens and court flatterers, your best defense is discernment. Recognize flattery for what it is, often hollow, sometimes manipulative, and rarely a substitute for authentic respect. Number 3, gossip behind your back. We've all encountered the whispers, the sly comments made when they think you're out of earshot. It's the hallmark of someone who thrives on tearing others down to feel elevated. Stoicism teaches us that such behavior reveals more about the gossiper than the one being gossiped about. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the faults of others can only harm you if you allow them to. Imagine this scenario: at work, you've been assigned a high-profile project. Your coworker, let's call him Tom, congratulates you with a smile and says, "You deserve this opportunity." But by lunchtime, he's in the break room, telling others, "Can you believe they gave that project to them? I mean, they're good, but not that good." This behavior isn't just petty, it's insidious. Gossipers use backhanded comments and whispers to sow doubt and erode trust. The real danger lies in their ability to manipulate perceptions, turning allies into skeptics without you even knowing. Historical example: Julius Caesar and Brutus. One of the most infamous betrayals in history stemmed from whispers and gossip. Brutus, once a trusted ally of Julius Caesar, was swayed by those who whispered against Caesar's growing power. The gossipers painted Caesar as a tyrant, fueling Brutus's doubts and leading to his ultimate betrayal. The lesson? Gossip rarely stays contained, it spreads like wildfire, leaving destruction in its wake. Why do people gossip? Psychologically, gossip often stems from insecurity and the need for validation. To gain social power, by spreading rumors, they position themselves as in the know and gain influence over others. To deflect attention, highlighting someone else's flaws shifts focus away from their shortcomings. To build alliances, they bond with others over shared negativity, creating a false sense of camaraderie. How do you handle gossipers? As a Stoic, your goal is to rise above the noise. Here's how. Refuse to engage. If someone tries to drag you into gossip, redirect the conversation or respond with neutrality. I prefer to focus on what's in front of me. Set clear boundaries. Make it known that you value honesty and direct communication. For example, if there's an issue, I'd rather discuss it openly than hear about it secondhand. Led by example, avoid speaking negatively about others, even when tempted. Your integrity will set a standard that others respect. The next time someone gossips to you, remember this: if they talk about others to you, they'll likely talk about you to others. Protect yourself by keeping interactions professional and focused on facts, not hearsay. Gossip is a poison that contaminates relationships and corrodes trust. Like a Stoic, choose to be a voice of reason in a world full of whispers. Because while others may revel in tearing people down, your strength lies in building a foundation of truth, respect, and unwavering integrity. Number 4, too agreeable, never disagreeing. Have you ever met someone who agrees with absolutely everything you say? No matter how wild, absurd, or controversial your opinion might be, they nod along like a bobblehead on a dashboard. You're so right, they exclaim, even when you can feel, deep down, that they don't believe it. It's like they're performing a role, trying to be the perfect companion, but something doesn't feel quite right. Psychologists would call this conflict avoidance or people-pleasing behavior. While it might seem flattering at first, constant agreement is often a red flag for insincerity. Why? Because real relationships are built on honesty, not blind affirmation. Someone who can't disagree with you isn't engaging authentically, they're just telling you what you want to hear. And trust me, that's not a foundation for anything real. Picture this: you're brainstorming ideas for a group project. You throw out a concept you know is risky, maybe even flawed, just to gauge the room. Everyone hesitates except for one person, let's call her Lisa. She immediately chimes in, "Oh, that's brilliant. Brilliant." Her enthusiasm seems over the top. You ask, "Really? Do you think it'll work?" She pauses, looks a bit unsure, but says, "Of course it will. I trust your instincts completely." Now, Lisa's response might feel good at the moment, but here's the catch: you weren't looking for blind agreement. You were hoping for honest feedback, for someone to challenge you, refine your idea, or point out potential pitfalls. Instead, you're left wondering whether Lisa actually believes in the idea or just doesn't want to upset you. Why do people do this? Agreeing constantly can be a defense mechanism. Some people are so afraid of rejection or conflict that they'll suppress their true thoughts just to stay in your good graces. Others may use excessive agreement as a tactic to manipulate, making you think they're your ally when, in reality, they're just playing it safe. How do you handle it? First, remember this: a genuine connection thrives on respectful disagreements. Someone who cares about you will challenge you when necessary, not just validate everything you say. Here's how to approach it. Ask clarifying questions. Do you think this is the best idea? Be honest. Encourage openness. It's okay if you disagree. I value your perspective. Test their sincerity. If someone agrees with everything, present two conflicting ideas and watch how they navigate the conversation. A person who never disagrees isn't necessarily your ally, they're just afraid of being authentic. And while it's nice to have your ego stroked, wouldn't you rather have someone brave enough to tell you the truth? True relationships, whether in love, friendship, or work, are built on trust and mutual respect. So, cherish the ones who respectfully challenge you and be cautious of those who agree too easily. Because in the end, it's the honest voices, not the agreeable echoes, that truly help you grow. Number 5, they only show up when it's convenient. You know the type. They're like those fair-weather friends who appear when the sun is shining but vanish the moment a single cloud rolls in. It's almost magical, poof, they're gone when you need help, but suddenly, they're your best friend when they need something. Stoic wisdom nails it perfectly. A true friend is someone who helps, not someone who takes. Seneca. Imagine this scenario, you're moving into a new apartment. Heavy boxes, endless stairs, and no elevator. You send a quick text to your friend, let's call him Dan, hey, could you help me move this weekend? I'll provide pizza and beer. Dan replies, oh, I'd love to, but I've got a thing. You don't ask what the thing is because, well, you've heard this excuse before. Fast forward 2 weeks. Dan texts you out of the blue, hey, buddy. You got a truck, right? Can I borrow it to pick up a couch? You pause for a moment, considering the irony, before typing back, sure, if you help me move the couch I've been hauling on my own. Silence. Radio silence. Dan disappears, once again proving his Houdini-level talent for vanishing when things aren't in his favor. Why do people act like this? Psychologists call this opportunistic behavior. These individuals prioritize convenience and self-gain over genuine connection. They show up when it benefits them but avoid situations requiring effort or empathy. For them, relationships are transactional, they're in it for what they can get, not what they can give. How do you handle it? Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions and choices, not the behavior of others. Here's how you can handle these convenience-only relationships. Set boundaries. When someone like Dan asks for a favor, don't feel obligated to say yes. Politely decline if it doesn't feel reciprocal. Example, I can't lend you my truck, but good luck with the couch. Test their commitment. When they ask for something, counter with a request of your own. Their response will reveal their true intentions. Invest in mutual relationships. Shift your energy toward people who show up for you in both good times and bad. These are the ones who deserve your time and effort. People like Dan might be good for a laugh or a casual beer, but they're not the ones you call when life gets tough. Recognizing their patterns doesn't make you bitter, it makes you wise. So, the next time a friend suddenly reappears after ghosting you during a rough patch, ask yourself, are they here for you, or for what you can do for them? And remember, real connections are built on mutual respect and effort, not on borrowed trucks or one-sided favors. Number 6, dodging responsibility. The slippery slope of avoidance, a hallmark of fake people everywhere. These individuals are masters at sidestepping accountability, like a cat avoiding a bath. No matter the situation, no matter how glaringly obvious their mistake, they'll find a way to wriggle out of it. The problem? They don't just dodge responsibility, they also dare to blame you for misunderstanding them. Let's break it down with a classic example. You're working on a group project, and your teammate, let's call her Sarah, is in charge of delivering a crucial part of the assignment. Deadline day arrives, and Sarah shows up empty-handed. When you ask, Sarah, where's your part of the project? She gives you her most convincing innocent expression and says, oh, I thought we agreed someone else was doing that. It's not that Sarah didn't know, it's that she's avoiding the heat. And when you press further, she doubles down, well, you didn't explain it clearly. It's not my fault if I misunderstood. There you have it, the perfect dodge, complete with a sprinkle of guilt aimed at you. Why do people avoid responsibility? From a psychological standpoint, dodging responsibility is often rooted in insecurity or a fear of failure. People who lack self-confidence are afraid of admitting their mistakes because they see it as a personal weakness rather than an opportunity to grow. Others, however, use this tactic deliberately to manipulate or shift focus away from their shortcomings. How do you handle it? Stoicism teaches us to confront situations with clarity and composure. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stay calm, address the issue head-on, and don't let their excuses derail you. Here's how to deal with responsibility dodgers. Stick to the facts. Instead of getting drawn into emotional arguments, present clear evidence of their role in the situation. For example, here's the email where we agreed you'd handle this part of the project. Don't accept blame that isn't yours. If they try to make you feel guilty, politely but firmly correct them. I explained this clearly in our last meeting. Let's figure out how to move forward now. Set expectations moving forward. Make it harder for them to dodge responsibility in the future by clarifying roles and documenting agreements. People who consistently avoid responsibility will always create chaos. They're quick to point fingers, shift blame, and keep their hands clean while leaving you to pick up the pieces. But here's the Stoic approach: don't get pulled into their games. Stay grounded, hold them accountable, and remember that their inability to take responsibility says far more about them than it does about you. The key is not to lose your cool or your integrity in the process. Because in the end, responsibility isn't just about owning your actions, it's about building trust and respect. Number 7, big promises, zero follow-through. We've all met this person. They're like the human equivalent of a fireworks display, big, flashy promises that light up the sky, but when it's time to deliver, nothing but smoke and disappointment. As Epictetus reminds us, don't promise more than you can perform. Wise words that, unfortunately, these folks missed during their crash course in integrity. Picture this: you're throwing a party. Your friend, let's call him Mike, excitedly volunteers to help organize. "Don't worry," he says, "I'll handle the food, decorations, and even the playlist. It'll be epic." You're impressed, grateful, and maybe even a little relieved. Fast forward to the day of the event. You call Mike, asking where he's at with the supplies. His response: "Oh man, something came up. I meant to call you, but I've been so busy." You understand, right? Meanwhile, you're left scrambling to buy chips and blow up balloons 5 minutes before guests arrive. Mike? He shows up late, empty-handed, and still manages to snag the best spot at the buffet. Why do people make empty promises? Psychologically, there are a few reasons for this behavior. They crave validation. Big promises make them look good at the moment, earning them praise and admiration, until it's time to deliver. They overestimate their capabilities. Some people genuinely think they can do it all, but lack the follow-through to make it happen. They don't prioritize you. Harsh but true: if they consistently drop the ball, it's a sign they don't value your time or trust enough to follow through. How do you handle it? The Stoic approach to empty promises is simple: don't waste energy on frustration. Instead, focus on results, not words. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Here's how you can handle the Mikes in your life. Hold them accountable. Call out patterns of behavior calmly but firmly. I noticed this isn't the first time you couldn't follow through. Let's be honest about what's realistic next time. Don't rely solely on them. Have a backup plan in place to avoid last-minute panic. Judge actions, not promises. Instead of being swept away by grand declarations, observe whether they've been delivered in the past. Here's the thing about empty promisers: they're not always bad people, they're just bad planners. But let's be real: if someone promises you the moon and barely shows up with a flashlight, it's time to adjust your expectations. So, the next time Mike offers to take care of everything, just smile, thank him politely, and quietly hire a caterer. Because as the Stoics would say, actions always speak louder than words, and sometimes, those actions involve making sure the chips are stocked and a playlist doesn't consist of just one song on repeat. Number 8. Emotional roller coasters. Have you ever dealt with someone whose mood swings make you feel like you're riding a roller coaster without a seatbelt? One day, they're your best friend, showering you with warmth and attention. The next, they're cold and distant, leaving you scratching your head and wondering what just happened. Psychologists would call this emotional inconsistency a red flag for deeper issues, or, as we'd say, a lack of authenticity. Picture this: your coworker, let's call her Emily, is all smiles on Monday. She compliments your work, invites you to lunch, and even says, "I admire your professionalism." You're flattered, thinking, "Wow, Emily's great." But then, come Wednesday, Emily barely acknowledges your existence. You wave, and she gives you a half-hearted nod. You ask her a question, and she answers in curt, one-word replies. By Friday, she's back to being warm and bubbly, acting like nothing happened. Confusing, isn't it? People like Emily keep you guessing, and that unpredictability can be emotionally draining. Stoic philosophy reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, don't let someone else's instability shake your inner peace. Why do people behave like this? Emotional inconsistency can stem from several factors. Manipulation. Some people use mood swings to control others, making you work harder to earn their approval. Personal struggles. Their instability might reflect inner turmoil, but that doesn't make it fair to you. Lack of authenticity. When someone isn't genuine, their behavior becomes inconsistent because they're constantly switching masks. How do you handle it? Dealing with emotionally unstable people requires a steady hand and a calm mind. Here's how. Stay grounded, don't mirror their mood swings. If they're cold one day, remain polite but don't chase their approval. Set emotional boundaries, protect your peace by limiting how much their behavior affects you. Think, their mood is their problem, not mine. Observe patterns. Over time, their inconsistency will reveal whether they're worth your time and energy. Imagine dealing with someone like Emily daily. Monday Emily makes you feel valued, but Wednesday Emily makes you doubt yourself. It's exhausting, right? Now flip the perspective. Imagine if you treated others this way. Would they stick around? Probably not. Consistency breeds trust, inconsistency erodes it. As a Stoic, your goal isn't to fix emotionally inconsistent people, it's to manage your response to them. Don't let their unpredictability dictate your peace of mind. Instead, focus on maintaining your emotional equilibrium. Because at the end of the day, your stability is your superpower. While they ride their roller coaster of moods, you'll be standing firm, grounded, and unshakable, proof that emotional steadiness is the ultimate sign of inner strength. Number 9. The eternal spotlight seekers. There's a certain type of person who craves attention like a moth to a flame. No matter the situation, they find a way to make it about themselves. You could be sharing a deeply personal achievement, and suddenly, they swoop in with an exaggerated story about their own success, leaving you in the shadows. Stoic wisdom reminds us, true value needs no display. Those who constantly demand the spotlight are often compensating for a lack of substance. Picture this: you're at a dinner party, finally getting the chance to tell your friends about a big promotion at work. You've barely finished the words, "I got promoted," when your friend, let's call him Steve, interrupts. "That's great, but did I tell you about the time I closed that massive deal last year? It was insane. I mean, my boss practically begged me to stay because I was so good." Suddenly, the conversation shifts. Your promotion is forgotten, and Steve is holding court, basking in the glow of attention he hijacked. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's the truth: people like Steve aren't driven by malice, they're driven by insecurity. Their constant need for attention is a mask for their inner doubts. Why do people act this way? From a psychological perspective, attention-seeking behavior often stems from low self-esteem. They feel validated only when others notice them. Narcissistic tendencies. They believe their experiences are more significant than anyone else's. Insecurity. Drawing attention away from others shields them from their own perceived inadequacies. How do you handle it? Dealing with an attention seeker doesn't mean giving up your space. Instead, approach the situation with calm confidence. Here's how. Hold your ground. When Steve interrupts, gently but firmly redirect the conversation. That's a great story, Steve, but I was just finishing my point about my promotion. Don't compete. Avoid the temptation to one-up them. It only feeds their need for validation. Set boundaries. If their behavior becomes too disruptive, have a private conversation to address it. The Stoics teach us that our value is not tied to external validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no time talking about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, your accomplishments don't need to be broadcast, they speak for themselves. Attention seekers may thrive at the moment, but their behavior ultimately alienates those around them. Meanwhile, your quiet confidence and authenticity will shine brighter than any spotlight. So the next time Steve, or anyone like him, tries to steal your thunder, remember, you don't need to fight for attention. Your worth doesn't depend on applause. Stay grounded, hold your space, and let your actions do the talking. The real stars don't have to announce they're shining, they simply light up the room. Number 10, the gentle grip of guilt. Not all manipulation comes with grand theatrics. Sometimes, it's subtle, wrapped in the softness of guilt and veiled with concern. These people don't shout or accuse outright, instead, they weave a narrative of sacrifice and disappointment, leaving you questioning whether you've done enough, or worse, whether you're the problem. But as the Stoics remind us, the mind that is enslaved to guilt is not free. Imagine this, your friend, let's call her Linda, has always been there for you, or so she likes to remind you. One day, you have to decline her invitation to help with a project because of your commitments. Linda's response? Not anger, but a soft, disappointed tone. "I just thought you'd be there for me like I've always been for you. I guess I misjudged." You feel the sting of her words. Suddenly, you're replaying all the times she's helped you, even moments you didn't ask for. The guilt sets in. Should you cancel your plans to help her? Should you ignore your own needs just to repay her? Why do people use guilt? From a psychological standpoint, guilt manipulation is a powerful tool because it preys on your empathy and sense of duty. People like Linda may not even be aware they're doing it, they're operating out of their insecurities or need for control. Others, however, wield guilt deliberately as a means of keeping you tethered to their expectations. How do you handle it? Stoicism teaches us that emotions are signals, not commands. Guilt, like anger or fear, should be acknowledged but not allowed to dictate your actions. Here's how to navigate guilt manipulation with grace and clarity. Recognize the tactic. When someone frames their disappointment to make you feel guilty, pause and assess the situation objectively. Separate emotion from logic, respond calmly and rationally, like saying, "I appreciate everything you've done, but my current decision doesn't diminish my gratitude." Set boundaries. Guilt is a boundary pusher's favorite weapon. Stand firm in your decisions while remaining polite and empathetic. It's easy to feel torn when someone you care about uses guilt as a tool. You don't want to hurt them, but you also shouldn't have to sacrifice your well-being. Remember, true relationships are built on mutual respect, not emotional leverage. Epictetus reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Choosing to respond with calm reason rather than emotional turmoil is the ultimate act of self-respect. When faced with guilt manipulation, hold on to this truth: you are not responsible for someone else's feelings or expectations. You are responsible for your integrity and boundaries. Offer kindness, but not at the cost of your peace. And trust that the relationships worth keeping are the ones that don't require you to feel small to make someone else feel big. Conclusion. The truth is that fake people thrive on manipulation and mind games. Their tactics, whether subtle or obvious, are designed to make you doubt yourself, question your reality, and ultimately, dance to their tune. But the moment you begin to recognize these signs, you take back your power. Awareness is your shield, and discernment is your sword. By identifying their behaviors, you can guard your peace and focus on cultivating relationships that are genuine and meaningful. Have you ever encountered someone who checks off these signs? Maybe a friend who always shifts blame, or a colleague who plays the victim whenever they're called out. Perhaps a loved one whose promises rarely materialize. These experiences aren't just frustrating, they're draining. But sharing your story can be a lifeline for others who are struggling to spot the same patterns. What strategies have worked for you? How have you reclaimed your sense of clarity and strength? Share in the comments, because your insight might be the key to someone else's freedom. And if this video resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Take action, like, subscribe, and share this message so we can grow the Victory Stoic community together. Imagine the impact we can have by spreading wisdom, empowering others to see through facades, and encouraging them to stand firm in their truth. As we wrap up, let me leave you with this thought: in a world filled with masks and illusions, your clarity is your greatest asset. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This applies here too. Choose to fill your mind with truth, no doubt. Choose to see things as they are, not as others want you to perceive them. The journey to genuine relationships begins with you. It starts by valuing your integrity and surrounding yourself with those who uplift rather than drain you. Life is too short to waste on people who play games or mask their intentions. Seek the truth, honor your worth, and trust that the right people will meet you at your level of clarity and strength. Remember, your authenticity is your power. By standing firm in your values and recognizing the masks others wear, you're not just protecting yourself, you're setting an example. You're proving that honesty and self-respect are not negotiable. So keep striving for truth, and keep building the kind of connections that enrich your life. Here's to your strength, your clarity, and the authentic relationships you deserve. Until next time, stay strong, stay stoic, and stay true to yourself.